Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles. Today we're going to talk about pacing. What I mean by pacing is pacing yourself year to year to year, right? So one thing I always look at this time of year is when we first start getting our ovulations, we first start seeing that is how do we compare when the year starts to previous years? Like, are we on that same pace that we want to be on? Is it looking similar? Is it going to be a later year, an early year? What can I kind of expect? When do I need to fire my incubator? All of these things. Well, today, for the record, is January 22nd of 2024. In case you're watching this at a later date, that is the day we're actually filming this, January 22nd, 2024. Last year, we had a ball python clutch in February. I do not expect to repeat that. That was a retained sperm clutch that we didn't plan on. We ended up with 4 eggs and they were all bad. I think maybe one of them was good. And it was a rough. So we're going to kind of throw that one out the window. That's not what we really want to see anyway, is that super early retained sperm clutch. We know it was that because we had just started breeding. We hadn't even seen a lock yet, and all of a sudden, boom. So we actually missed the ovulation because we didn't expect an ovulation that early. This time of year is when we really first start looking at our females for possible ovulations. Be kind of early, right? So last year in March, because we have something to ovulate right now in ovulation, you're going to figure it's going to swell up, have to be there for a while, it'll go down, then we'll have a shed, then about 30 days later you get eggs. So as we said today, January 22nd, anything ovulating right now, I would expect to lay in the first 10 days of March. That's just kind of what I would expect to see. It could be a little earlier, it could be a little later, but most likely we're looking at March eggs. So we had 3 sets of eggs all of March last year, okay? That's where we were. What are we looking at now? Well, we've already got 2 ovulations so far in our pastel super inchy vanilla ghost male bred to our lesser ghost female, and also a mystic potion bred to a super lesser. So that means right there, we've kind of already are looking like we're going to be on pace. I would expect anything that I can see an ovulation by February 10th to probably lay in March. So I've got another 20 days or so of looking for ovulations. I've got a few females who I think may go ahead and do that for us. So I think we're going to kind of be on a similar pace to what we were last year, at least to start. Is that important? Not really. It's not really that important, but it makes me feel better. I'm a person who I need that consistency. If I had eggs in March last year and it wasn't like we're going to have anything until April, I would start to get concerned that I was doing something wrong. So for me, when I can look and I see these things, I can make that comparison. What it gives me is peace of mind. I have a little peace of mind of okay, everything's running smooth. It's running the way it should. It's running how I should expect. We've got 2 clutches we know are going to be in March, and we had 3 last year. We're right there. It doesn't have to be clutch for clutch. We may end up with 3, 4, even 5 clutches in March before it's all said and done this year. But we're looking like we're going to be kind of on that same pace, and that makes me feel good. The hardest part of the year for me is waiting on the first ovulation. It's also waiting on the first set of eggs. You just kind of feel like relaxed, right? We found both these ovulations a couple days ago, so they're still, one of them's still swelling, one of them's about to drop down. So this one will be the one that goes first, I believe, and this one second, but it's going to be pretty close. So all in all, pretty solid stuff, right? You're going to see a date show up on these here soon when they have the prelay shed. We also track that. So that is going to be the information we're going to use. I will have to erase my big board because it's a new year soon. I always take a picture of my big board before I erase it. And that's what I'll refer to throughout the year to kind of say, hey, what did we do in June of last year? What did we do in July? Where were we at this point in time? Am I way behind? Am I way ahead? Where am I at? How's it looking? When did this female go? Why is she so late? Or, man, this girl's really early. It's one of those things that I just like to kind of refer back to. Is it something you have to do? No, it's not. I can also use my computer files to refer back to that, right? Because I track every single clutch. But I'll tell you, the reason I still want that picture is it is really hard to be like, oh, I wonder, when did that, fire yellow belly last year, when did she go? Well, let me open up my computer. Let me dig into the file. It's way easier to pull out my phone, open up a picture that I got saved in my save file, like, oh yeah, man, that girl laid eggs in July. So we're good. We're good. I don't have to be worried yet. We're not behind on her. Because sometimes with clutches I'm excited about, that can kind of happen, right? Here we're doing a blackhead mystic that's also got either yellow belly or spectra in it. We're not sure which one. Going to that fire yellow belly. Well, I'm excited about that because I'm really hoping it's Spectre, right? Because Yellow Belly is going to give me an ivory, which you'll still see some of the stuff in ivory. But what I really would like to see is that Yellow Belly Spectre super stripe, layer in some blackhead, maybe layer in some mystic, layer in some of those things, maybe some fire in there. Having all those combinations in that super stripe will be really, really cool. So, this is a clutch I'm focused on. This is what I'm like waiting on, right? So being able to check and see as we get later in the year, because sometimes my brain lies, like, man, she went pretty early. She actually did go pretty early last year. One thing, since we moved a lot of females around, it's pretty easy to tell, like, that was clutch 1, clutch 2, clutch 3, clutch 4. You kind of know, because that's where we started setting those up. Well, actually, they're out of order because we didn't have this when we first started pulling. So we just set the ones up that laid already, and then as they laid. So it's not in exact order, but if she's over here, especially in the top half, we know she went probably at a decent time last year. So that is kind of what we always do. And I just like to make sure that I'm on the same pace. It's a little bit OCD. Kurt, do you even worry about it? Kurt says he doesn't worry about it. But me, I do. And these guys will tell you, oh man, we had this many last year, we had this many this year. We're 3 clutches ahead of where we were last year, or we're 4 clutches behind where we were last year, but we have this many females who have ovulated, and we didn't have this many till next month, so I think we're going to catch back up. This is all part of those numbers game that I really, really, really like. It's also a way to track growth. If you're still in a growth phase and you're saying, well, I had 30 clutches last year, I really want to have 35 this year, or 40, or whatever your growth phase is. By tracking this, you can kind of see that as you go through the year, right? Because if you're trying to go from 30 clutches to 40 clutches in 1 year, and you're clear 6 months into laying season and you're right on pace, you probably ain't going to get it, right? But now you can kind of monitor that and be like, oh man, I'm 3 clutches ahead, I'm 4 clutches ahead. Yeah, I'm 5 above where I am, I still have this many more females. You kind of have an idea and know you're on pace to hit those goals. So this is part of goal tracking. And I am a very big believer in being a goal-oriented person, whether that's goals in your personal life or goals in your snake breeding life. Set goals, track those goals, work to achieve them, and don't make them so damn easy, okay? But make them achievable. They can't be easy, but they can't be unachievable either. It's a goal that you should be proud when you hit. And sometimes you're not going to hit your goal the first year. We've had goals we've missed. We've had goals we've hit. We've had goals we've smashed. It just kind of depends. It's reasonable, but not like, oh, I want to increase just this year. Nah, that's not a goal. That's just normal. So if you're going to set a goal, set a goal. Sometimes your goal isn't to increase. Our goal right now is not to increase clutches. Our goal is to just, maintain at the moment, right? But it is a way to track that and kind of know where things are and what's happening in your collection. Because to me, it's really important. Because if I'm sitting here, let's say I'm in June, and last year in June I had 25 clutches, and I don't know if that's correct. And this year in the end of June I've got 8. Man, I'm going to be wondering what's going on. Is it temperature related? Is it this? Is it this? Is it something I did? Or are we missing something here? Or did I screw up something here? I'm going to try to figure out what went different this year versus that first year, especially if I have a big drop. That's just why I like to track all of those things. This is where that data down the road comes in handy. It may not matter if you're doing 5 clutches, okay? That data is irrelevant if you're doing 5 clutches. And it may be irrelevant if you're doing 200 clutches because you're just all the time and it's going to be so much of a thing to track. But when you're where we're at, that data is pretty damn relevant, right? Especially when these animals mean something to you. It's the same reason we track feeds, because we want to know how they're feeding and how they're doing, whether we should breed them or not, rotate them in or out, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, what I want to say is Olympus is on pace for 2024 for what we did in 2023 right now. That is a big weight off my shoulders, y'all. When we get those first few ovulations, I check the board, see I'm on pace. Man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling just nice and serene. Everything's great. If we were behind, like I started seeing shit, we had clutches in March, and it's April, and I ain't seen an ovulation yet. Whoo, man. Then I'm cranky. Then nobody wants to be around me because I'm bitching at everybody and I'm being a jackass because we're so far behind. So it's just one of those things you got to kind of look at. Kurt, what is the number that you worry about the most? I've seen you stress before, so you can't say you never have. I know one time when you were stressing in here, and I was like, it's good, let it be. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just if there's a big gap in between.
Yeah.
Eggs being laid.
We had a big gap one year, and Kurt was freaking the fuck out, man. He was like mad. He'd come up here angry, like, why aren't we getting anything? I'm like, dude, it's good, it's good, it's good. And the reason I knew it was good is just because of what I'm saying. It was a year we actually had a lot of expansion, but we started much earlier in the year. So we had all these eggs, bang, 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 and then we had like a 8-week gap or a 6-week gap and nothing. But as I'm looking at the numbers, we were still far ahead of last year. I knew the females we had coming. I could see when they laid the previous year, and I knew we were spot on goal. And I'm like, man, we're going to get it. We're going to be just fine, you know. But it was because I had that data and I had those numbers to look at. Because I ain't going to lie, when we were going that long, I'm freaking out too. Until I look at the data and I see the data is telling me, chill. Data saying you're fine. Relax. It's good. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here. Just let it go. We're going to be A-okay. And sure enough, we were just fine that year. We hit our goals that year. Everything was good. But Kurt was stressed for about 6, 7 weeks in there. But then when they came like bang, 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 bang. And all of a sudden we started stressing about, shit, we're going to have enough room in the incubator. We had to kind of play that game, which we did. 'Cause I think that was before we got the second incubator, if I remember right. So it's just track your data. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel better because it's going to tell you you're okay in the lean times. You're going to feel, you're not going to get too high because it's going to tell you it's the same as before. If you're getting yourself too high and mighty, it's going to help keep you humble, going to help keep you calm. And it's also going to tell you if you actually do have an issue going on. It's going to show that in the data. The data will be your friend moving your breeding plans forward. I promise. Track your data. Anything else you want to add, Kurt? All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.